The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Springville Police Department. An Amber Alert has been declared. Repeating, an Amber Alert has been declared. Police are currently searching for 2 children who were taken from their homes. The first child's name is Dustin Parker, a 15-year-old white male, standing at around 5 feet tall, weighing at 113 pounds, with brown hair and green eyes. He was last seen wearing a white shirt, a gray unzipped sweater, blue jeans, and brown boots. The second child's name is Diana Parker, an 11-year-old white female, standing at around 4 feet tall, weighing at 109 pounds, with brown hair and green eyes. Her hair is tied into 2 pigtails. She was last seen wearing an orange shirt, a gray unzipped sweater, green shorts, and gray sneakers. She has a necklace around her neck with a crystal shaped like a crescent moon. The children were believed to be abducted by a 23-year-old white male, standing at 5 feet tall, and weighing at 145 pounds. The man was last seen wearing a black cloak, with the hood covering his head. No getaway vehicle was reported. The children are believed to be in extreme danger. If you see the children, or the reported suspect, dial 911 immediately. Do not approach the suspect, as he may be armed and dangerous. The following message is transmitted at the request of the governor of the state of Utah. Multiple child abductions have been reported all across the state of Utah. Dustin and Diana Parker are still reported to be missing. Approximately 48 children were reported by civilians to have been abducted by the same hooded man. In addition, police have discovered a strange insignia carved into the location of the abducted children. The insignia was carved into a solid surface, such as a sidewalk, wall, or door. There may be a possible connection with the insignia, and the hooded man, as the same symbol was stitched into the back of the man's cloak. It is unknown if more children will be taken from their homes. Stay tuned for the latest updates on this current situation. We interrupt our programming. This is a law enforcement warning. At around 4:05 p.m., multiple reports of mysterious figures roaming throughout the city of Springville have been received. These figures originated out of numerous cemeteries, churches, and abandoned buildings. These figures do not appear to be hostile, but can hide in dark places, and were reported to be hiding behind a person's shadow. No more child abductions were reported. However, it is recommended that parents keep their children indoors at all times. The hooded figure is nowhere to be found at this time. It is unknown if more figures will appear elsewhere. Stay tuned for the latest updates as the situation develops. This message is being transmitted at the request of the National Guard. A group of mysterious figures were reported to be roaming throughout the city of Springville. The figures were reported to hide behind the shadows of people. They later proceed to take over their victims' minds. This broadcast will now quiet down for your safety. Continue to carry out the following instructions. This message is being transmitted at the request of the governor of the state of Kansas. At 5:23 p.m., a strange beam of light began to shine upon the crater. The surface around the crater is now beginning to crack open. Civilians are ordered to not approach the crater for any reason. It is unknown what is causing the light to shine upon the crater. Emergency update. The crater was reported to have exploded. Large chunks of the Earth's crust were scattered around the hole. The beam of light is no longer shining above the crater, and a massive swarm of shadow figures began to appear out of the hole. In addition, a strange entity has appeared to be floating above the hole, and is currently using deadly lightning strikes to destroy buildings and kill civilians. The figure is wearing a black cloak, with the hood covering its head. The figure appears to have armor underneath his cloak, and the strange insignia was stitched on the back of his cloak. There may be a connection between the current situation and the situation in Utah. Civilians must now prepare to hide once again. Instructions will be broadcasted momentarily. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. At 6:10 p.m., civilians reported a figure walking around Kansas City. The description of the figure matches the description of 17-year-old Seth Haly. If it is found that the figure is Seth Haly, civilians must prepare to hide from the possible danger that now exists. Shadow figures are still roaming around the states of Kansas, Texas, Pennsylvania, and Utah. If you have any information about the suspect, please dial 911 immediately. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. At 6:27 p.m., civilians have reported another figure fighting off the shadow figures. The figure has ruthlessly eliminated a small group with its large spear. The description of the figure matches the description of 10-year-old Sara. It appears that she is trying to fight off the figures alone, but she will be assisted by military forces shortly. Seth is still at large, and it is unknown if he plans to injure any civilians, or Sara, as he was last seen carrying his large sword around. If you see Seth, please dial 911 immediately. This message is being transmitted at the request of the National Guard. The shadow figures have appeared to have overwhelmed military forces. Sara was believed to be in extreme danger, as multiple shadow figures have surrounded her location. However, several lightning strikes have killed off the shadow figures around Sara. It is believed that Seth has destroyed the figures, as he was seen descending from the air, and aided her sister in the ongoing fight. It is assumed that Seth is no longer considered a threat, and that he now wishes to fight against the shadow figures to save humanity along with Sara. More military forces, as well as police officials, will continue to handle the situation. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Department of Homeland Security. Seth and Sara are now headed towards the crater, in order to fight off the entity. They have stated that this was going to be a bloody fight, and that if anyone should interfere, There will be major consequences. They then spread out a set of demonic wings, and flew off to the hole. Civilians in Kansas City are ordered to evacuate to any cities surrounding Kansas City. Military forces, as well as police officials, members of SWAT, and civil authorities will continue to handle the situation. We interrupt our programming. This is a national emergency. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the United States government. This is not a test. The strange entity floating above the crater has absorbed the powers of Seth and Sara. The entity is now confirmed to be the same entity that Sara summoned back in Pennsylvania. Seth and Sara are incapable of fighting the entity, and the entity now possesses the powers of Seth and Sara. Multiple spears are being thrown from the crater, and the shadow figures now use long swords to kill civilians. Lightning strikes are now becoming a deadly hazard to civilians, as they are currently destroying shelters around the state. Deceased victims now come back to life as shadow people, and the ground is now breaking apart, while shooting molten rocks out of the Earth's crust. Stand by for this message. This is an emergency action notification. All broadcast and cable systems shall transmit this emergency action notification message. This station has interrupted normal programming at the request of the United States government to participate in the emergency alert system. During this emergency, most stations will remain on the air to provide news and information to the public in assigned areas. This station will be discontinuing normal programming. You should now tune to stations providing news for your local area. This station will be discontinuing normal programming. Do not use the telephone. Telephone lines should remain open for official use. The emergency alert system has been activated. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the United States government. A strange beam of light has appeared to shine above Seth and Sara. The light has caused them to return into their holy forms, as they were seen levitating above the ground. They then spread out a set of angelic wings, and picked up their weapons to continue the fight. Seth and Sara have now awakened, and are continuing to fight off the entity. It is believed that light can temporarily stun a shadow figure. If you have a source of light, which includes a flashlight, lamp, spotlight, candle, laser, or a source of fire, use it to defend yourself against the shadow figures. It is unknown if more shadow figures will continue to spawn elsewhere, but make sure to have a light source ready in case a shadow figure enters your shelter. An administrative message from the United States government. The danger to all civilians is over. The entity has been killed after the weapons of Seth and Sara have struck the entity's chest. A large explosion followed shortly thereafter. The shadow figures have faded away after the entity has been killed. Although this event is now over, Seth and Sara are in critical condition, as the explosion has caused molten rock to shoot onto their bodies. Once again, the entity has been defeated, the shadow figures have disappeared, and it is now safe for you to leave shelters. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Springville Police Department. At 12:28 a.m., the two missing children, known as Dustin and Diana Parker, were reported by civilians to have vanished. A strange light began to shine from the crystal of Diana Parker. The two later disappeared from the scene. It is unknown where the children may have gone to. The rest of the children reported missing were found to be in the hall in Kansas City. Once again, the children reported missing are safe. However, civilians must be on the lookout for Dustin and Diana Parker, as it is unknown where the two are headed.